Hi guys, it's me, it's Lori. How are you doing today? So, communication is really, really important. People in this day and age, there's three reasons why people, well, three significant reasons. There's other reasons why people get divorced, but one of them is um, money, believe it or not. Children, especially in this day and age of, second marriages, third marriages, stepchildren. Communication is number three. You might think it'd be adultery or you know uh, that kind of thing. Even with adultery, there are some people that are just adulterers. They're just cheaters. There's no way around it. That's just who they are. But then there are some people who literally get to that point, and I'm not excusing adultery, but who literally get to that point because they're so very alone in their relationship. And it starts with a lack of communication. So, first and foremost, before you hook up with someone, make sure you know who you are. If you know who you are, it's a lot easier to draw to you the people that are going to be good in your life. If you're okay with who you are, if you're able to look at even the negative aspects of yourself and admit that they're there and repent of whatever it is and try to change it, you're in much better shape than somebody who doesn't want to see themselves for who they are, because then you're living this facade. You're going to draw to you whatever lessons you need, or what those negative aspects of yourself you may draw to yourself, like a mirror effect almost. I have one client who has a problem with lying, and she keeps drawing to herself liars, and she wonders why. One thing I've noticed in dealing with people a lot is something that they truly hate about people is usually something that they have struggled with or that they are struggling with. But usually once you have called it out in yourself and repented of it, and you're working on changing it, or you have changed it, you don't get so fired up or charged or triggered by it in somebody else. So, back to communication. Okay, so if you know who you are, you're going to be a better communicator anyway, because we need to be able to stand up to who we are, to something that goes outside of our boundaries. And how do we even know what our boundaries are if we don't know who we are? So setting clear boundaries is a good thing, but it's one of those things that's a fine line, because I've heard it so often just recently. Setting boundaries is important, but then you especially if you're young, or if you're just learning about yourself or something, you can fall into becoming selfish, and setting boundaries that are too broad. We got to remember that we are here to serve, okay? So not to the extent that we hurt ourselves or harm ourselves or put too much out there and give too much of ourselves, but we are here to serve. And this is my kitty boo. But boundaries are clearly important. And if you know who you are, what you want in another person, you will set the boundaries, the healthy boundaries, and you won't allow anybody to cross them. With age comes wisdom, hopefully. With spiritual growth comes wisdom, for sure. The reason I say hopefully with age is because I know a lot of people that have aged and they have no wisdom, especially when it comes to communication. So, okay, so say you are in a relationship. I'm going to talk mostly about like spouses or boyfriend, girlfriend, romantic relationships. But this goes for really all relationships and all people. We should respect people enough to validate their feelings. Even if we disagree with them and we feel that their feelings are totally off the chart and they don't make any sense,
if we want our feelings validated, we should validate another's. And one thing, again, going back, all we can do is change us. We can't change other people. So even through relationships, the reason relationships are so important is because that's how we grow. That's how we learn. We would never know the negative or positive aspects of ourselves without relationship. We'd never learn ourselves. We'd never be able to even grow spiritually without other people in our life. So don't isolate yourself either. Some of us tend to do that when we get upset or whatever, is isolate. It's the easiest thing to do. It's really not a healthy thing to do. I mean, if you need to get away for an hour or two, or even maybe a day, that's fine, but don't isolate completely. So validate somebody's feelings. Now, there's something called fair fighting. And in fair fighting, I think it goes, even if you're not fighting, I think these rules apply. No name calling. Don't name call anybody, but especially somebody you love. You know, how many times does that happen? You get in an argument and the names start flying, or, you know, and whoever said sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me was wrong, or lying, one or the other, because some of those words can never, you can't take them back, you know. So no name calling. Another thing is, some people are so busy talking that they don't listen. So, and especially when you're really passionate about something, you want to talk, and you don't want to give that person a chance to say their piece. So just put it in your mind that a conversation is two ways. It's not you spouting what you want to say and that's it, and shutting things off. And then another thing people do is they let the other person talk, but they're so concerned about what they're going to say next, they're not listening to what that person says. So program yourself to talk and listen, and put as much energy into both. Don't put more into talking and getting your point across. You know, you don't always have to be right. And even if you're right, sometimes there's times where you just say, I agree to disagree with you. And that's it. Because you as a person means more to me than being right in this. Don't ever be untrue to yourself, though. I know a lot of people will surrender and say you're right, even if they don't think so. You might want to give that other person's opinion a chance, but don't sell yourself short either. Don't ever surrender your own integrity. Don't ever surrender your own morals. If somebody's asking you to do that, they're not the right person for you. Another thing is, don't ever allow somebody else to isolate you from the people that truly love you. That's not healthy. And it never happens like, I forbid you, well, I guess sometimes it does, but I forbid you to see so-and-so. It's usually gradual over time. And before you know it, you are cut off from the people that truly love you. Another thing is to, have you ever heard of a talking stick? I used to use this when I worked with couples or families. It's a Native American thing, but and you can use anything. You could use a feather, you could use a straw, you could use a disc, anything. But whoever is holding that stick, I'll use the talking stick, but like I said, you could use anything. It's their turn to talk. And prior to the conversation starting, actually when there is no conflict, it's a good idea to put these rules out. This person has, say, 3 minutes. And for 3 minutes they're holding the stick and they can talk, and then they pass it. And once the stick is out of your hands, you cannot speak. You need to politely get the stick back in order to talk. That way it gives everybody a chance to speak. Another thing is, if you're angry or upset, if you've just heard bad news, if somebody has just told you something, don't allow your temper to get the best of you. And this should go really in every situation, but it's part of fair fighting. So count to 3 or longer if you have to. But, okay, so somebody just tells you something devastating. If you were to react instead of respond, you're going to end up probably throwing something at them or punch them in the face or yelling and screaming or something. Take a deep breath and hold it. 1, 2, 3. And then release. 1, 2, 3. So that gives you 6 seconds at least. If you have to do it longer, depending on how much your blood pressure has risen. And do not speak until you are in a place of at least a little bit of calm. So then you can think a little more clear. Your chances are you're not going to throw something. Chances are you're not going to say something that you can never take back. If it's overwhelming, there will be times where you've got to say, I can't talk about this right now. But when that happens, you shouldn't be let off the hook forever. So you should have a game plan in place ahead of time. Like, okay, if I can't talk about this right now, let's revisit in an hour. Let's revisit in 24 hours. You know, don't just let it go because it's obviously something that's important. And if you still can't, you know, you've got to work through it and commit to revisiting it within a short amount of time. That's really, really important because some people will, and if somebody says that to you, don't be like, no, I need to talk about it right now, because that's not fair either. You both have to, it's fair to revisit for the other person, and it's fair to give the person that can't talk about it some time. You know, you can't be unfair to either party. Remember that you really care about this person. Remember that. And when you really love somebody, you care about what they think, what they feel. You care about their success. And remember that. You know, remember who this person is that you're talking to. And even if it's a total stranger, just give them the respect that you would ask for yourself, you know. Those are just a few little tips. One more. This one, you know, I want you to remember before I give you the last tip that men and women are programmed differently. We are hardwired differently, and you can fill each of us up with the same exact software, and we're going to react and respond differently because we're hardwired differently. We think differently. Now, of course, there's an exception to every rule, but the rule is we're hardwired differently. We react differently. We show love differently. There are many love languages. People show love differently. So I don't want you to think because a person doesn't do what you would do, that means that they don't love you. No, it means they don't have the same love language as you. That's what that means. So you got to try to, you know, if you get to know a person enough, and if you allow them to speak, if you allow them to share, don't make somebody feel so uncomfortable that they can't share their true feelings. Because they won't. They will learn to say, like, if you freak out every time somebody tries to tell you something, you're teaching them not to talk to you. If you cry every time somebody tells you something, you're teaching them not to talk to you. I'm not saying don't show your true feelings. But just same vice versa. You should never feel like you're walking on eggshells with somebody. If you do, you have crossed your own boundary. You have given up your power, and you've got to take that back and pull it back. Don't ever walk on eggshells for anybody. Be yourself, but be kind. Does that make sense? Be truthful, but be kind. You don't need to be brutally honest. You need to be honest and kind and compassionate. And the last thing I wanted to say is, and this is great for couples and families and that kind of thing. If something happens and you get so heated that an argument's coming, or I'm about to explode, or if this continues, I'm going to punch you in the face, or I need to get out of this situation immediately, you know, or we're going to end up in divorce court, or whatever the case is. Pick a word. Pick a word. A boyfriend and I used to have popcorn as our word. So we could be in the middle of a discussion, and if one of us calls popcorn, it doesn't mean we're hungry. it means, okay, we have to stop right now, cool off for a second, and then revisit. You know, we have to leave right now because even if I don't understand it, something's going on in his head and he's about to explode. I have to shut my mouth right now because I'm hurting his feelings. Or, you know what I mean? Like, because sometimes, especially if you're really passionate about something, you don't get it. You think, or, you know, you might be expressing something and you're really hurting that person and you don't understand it. So it's a word. It's just a word to kind of call warning, call truce. Let's stop and start over again at another time. I love you enough to stop. That's all that means. I hope this helped a little bit. There's way more to communication. I mean, this is just like the tip of the iceberg. But communication is truly, truly important in every relationship we have. Honesty first, like I said, not brutal honesty, but honesty. Honesty with compassion, always good. Even if you got to tell somebody something you're uncomfortable with telling them, it's best to tell them. Don't be with somebody for the wrong reasons, you know. Don't be with somebody just out of physical attraction and there's nothing else there. If you find that's happened, be honest, but kind. Because stuff happens, you know. I'm not going to say you waste time with people if you're not honest, because we always learn and grow through a relationship. But if you feel trapped in a relationship, if you're truly not happy, you're not just going through a bad time, you're blocking yourself off from something else that could be going on. All right, guys, I hope you're having a great day. I hope you have many blessings that follow you. I hope you find favor with men and favor with God in all that you do. Please pray for me. I'm going through a really difficult time. Donations are absolutely needed, desperately needed for the stuff, not only for the personal crisis that's going on, but for the projects that I do for the less fortunate. But right now there is some family stuff going on, and and some medical stuff going on. The donations are desperately needed and greatly appreciated. And if you can't, you can't. That's fine. I'm just letting you know. I will put a link down to how you can do that in the description. If you need help, if you're in a relationship, if you're grieving, if you found that you're isolated, if you're dealing with addiction, whether you're the addict or you love an addict, if you're grieving, if you just need a boost, if you're feeling stuck, message me. Make an appointment. Let's get together. I can help you. All right, let's talk soon. God bless you.